Everyone, this is Eldad Amara, and this is my channel, Eyes Wide Shut, where I talk about current affairs and politics. I also got another channel which you should check, which is called Spiritual Echelons, where I talk about the metaphysical, I talk about spirituality, religion, acupuncture, and all of those kinds of things. Now, before I go into this video, check this. Like my cup with my logo at the top there, Eyes Wide Shut. You better buy these soon on Shopify and Printified, and also on my YouTube channel. Look at this as well. Look at my t-shirt. Some people have seen me in this a couple of times before. Look, yes, my t-shirt with Eyes Wide Shut. These will also be on Shopify, Printified, and on my YouTube channel and other channels coming up very soon. So keep an eye out for these. And as well as that, I'll be having bags. There'll be caps and so forth. Now, before I go into this video, check this. Right, the Labour Party has recently retracted. The Labour Party has recently retracted on their digital ID cards. Is this as a result of there being almost 3 million people petitioning against the ID cards in the UK? Is this the reason why they're so-called retracting? In actual fact, I don't even think they're actually retracting. Yeah, because they spent too much money on trying to get this digital ID card system rolled out, and they're rolling out much more quicker than you think. And they've already spent about 2.2 billion altogether on this thing, yeah? And by 2030, under WEF and under the UN, they want to try and make sure that everyone can be tracked and traced. There's a whole heap of policies that's coming up under Agenda 2030. All right, let me read out this article to you. The Labour Party has announced they will be withdrawing from bringing out digital ID. Is this true? And co-pilot says yes. Current reporting indicates that Labour has rolled back on its digital plan to make digital ID mandatory, but they have not withdrawn from the entire digital ID program. The latest update shows that the government has dropped the requirements for compulsory digital ID for workers following criticisms and political pressure. All right. Subheading: what has actually changed? Labour has dropped the plan to make digital ID compulsory for workers when the scheme launches. In the near term, will be voluntary, not mandatory. I'm going to come back to this thing about mandatory because a lot of people think that mandatory means law. It doesn't. Mandatory and law are two separate things. They're two separate entities. They're two separate dichotomies. Okay? Mandatory doesn't mean law. Ministry have not ruled out making it compulsory later, but the immediate U-turn is on mandatory element. This follows earlier announcement where digital ID was intended to be required for right to work checks by the end of Parliament. Quick breakdown of the situation. Original plan, mandatory ID for everyone working in the UK, aimed at tackling illegal migration. Yeah, illegal migration. You brought in these illegal immigrants or boat people, all right, under some kind of false guises. Under some false guises because you wanted to use them to bring in this digital ID. If people open their eyes, they'll be able to see that this was a ploy. There's somebody higher up or a group of people higher up who are using that crisis, right, the boat crisis as a reason to bring in digital ID. This could have been a plan from a long time ago to set this up. It could have been a plan from a long time ago to set this up. You just have to look at all the pieces and put the puzzle together and see the money trail, see where the money is going and where it's coming from. Right, so quick breakdown. The original plan, mandatory digital ID for everyone working in the UK, aimed at tackling illegal migration. Current position, mandatory requirements dropped. Schemes will launch in voluntary form. As what was planned, mandatory digital ID, right? So what was planned? Mandatory digital ID for workers. Digital ID rolled out by 2029. Aim, tackle illegal working. What is happening now? Mandatory elements dropped. Roll out still planned, but voluntary. Right. Are Labour intending to bring out digital ID in schools? And if so, why? Because I've heard rumours that the Labour Party wants to try and bring out digital IDs in schools, even starting from primary age. Now, I didn't know whether this was true or not, so I asked Copilot the question. There is no evidence that Labour is planning to introduce a digital ID system specifically for school children. Current reporting only discusses digital ID in the context of right to work checks for adults, and even that policy has recently been scaled back here because of public pressure. But you know what? 3 million, or just under 3 million people petitioned, government, to say they don't want digital ID. And there was a whole heap of protests going on the streets. And it wasn't just in the UK, it was going on in other parts of Europe as well, right? People are just marching on the streets and saying, we don't want digital ID. We don't want digital ID. Look how many different forms of ID that we have already to prove who we are, eh? Look at how many different forms of ID that we have to prove who we are. We got our driving license, we got our passports. So why do we need digital ID? All right, let me read on. So nothing in available government statements or news coverage mentions digital ID being introduced in schools for pupils or education settings. Right, so top title or subheading: what Labour is proposing based on current information. Adults proving their right to work in the UK, aimed at replacing paper-based checks with a digital system. The government has recently U-turned on making it mandatory, saying will follow a public consultation. Yeah, you didn't consult the public before though, did you? Eh? You didn't consult the public before, because if you did, you wouldn't have had people on the streets there protesting, right? People writing petitions and all the rest of it. It seems that we're starting to live in a so-called totalitarian type state where government, they're supposed to be there for the people, yeah? They're supposed to be there to represent the people. And instead, it looks like they're starting to represent themselves and some of these big tech corporations are not listening to the people, right? The general public. Democracy means for the people, by the people. If you're not listening to the people and you're enforcing these really draconian laws, who are you implementing those draconian laws for? So what is not mentioned? No proposal for digital ID for children. No proposal for digital ID for school access, attendance, behavior tracking, or education services. No mention of digital ID being used in schools in any official statement or news report. Why the confusion? A few reasons people are asking this. The term digital ID is broad, and some assume it could extend to schools. Schools already use things like biometric lunch systems, parent apps, digital safeguarding tools, which can feel similar. I didn't even know about some of these things using in schools. Wow. Safeguarding tools, which can feel similar. Some outline discussions have speculated about future expansion, but there is no policy basis for this. If Labour did ever propose digital ID in schools, what would the likely reasons be? This is hypothetical only, not current policy, but typical reasons government consider digital ID in education include streamlining access to school services, meals, attendance, and libraries, reducing admin for parents and staff, improving safeguarding by verifying adults entering school premises, linking education records more efficiently. So these are some of the reasons why schools sometime in the future they might start to implement digital ID cards. Okay, I think if the government wants to have the whole population and eventually those at the top there, WEF and UN, right? Because they're in the background. They're in the background of all of this, right? Pushing the knobs. Eventually, they want to have the whole complete planet ID'd on the digital ID, on the digital ID cards. And what will that mean for us as individuals? It will mean they'll be able to track every single thing that we do, everywhere that we go, everything that we buy, everyone that we're talking to. It's not just digital ID cards, but also biometric information, right? Biometric gathering of data. You got supermarkets doing that at the moment. You got petrol stations doing that also, such as Tesco's, right? Where they've got biometric data gathering machines. They tell you as you walk, you're going into the petrol station. They tell you as you're going into the petrol station that they have cameras, right, recording you, biometric detail. They're gathering your information, everything that you purchase, people that you're walking around in the shops with, your gait, the way that you walk. All of this information is being gathered. Eye scanning you, right? Eye scanning you. It's like you're under constant surveillance all the time. You think the Labour Party is going to go away with this? You think they're going to dump this thing, this digital ID? No, there's too much money involved in it. They got too many companies working for them on behalf of the government, data gathering, also collecting biometric data. You don't believe me? You don't believe me? Well, check this out. Check this out. Check this out. 340 million in contracts have already been handed out. No digital ID cards. They have not been scrapped, right? Digital ID cards have not been scrapped. They're coming in via other means. They're coming in by other means. I remember they said at the moment that digital ID cards will be a voluntary thing. Will be a voluntary thing for now. But remember, WEF, which is World Economic Forum, the World Economic Forum, and the UN, United Nations, they have an agenda. and they want by 2030 certain things to be put in place. They call it the Great Reset. This Great Reset should have originally been by 2021. 2020, they were trying out so many things. They're trying out so many things. That was a trial. 2020 was a trial. You gave up so much of your personal data. You gave up so much of your personal information so that you could go and drink in a pub, so that you could go out and eat, so that you can go to football matches, so that you could go to concerts. And you would rather give up all of that personal information, right? Because you wanted your freedom back. You wanted things to go back to normal. What was normal anyway? What is normal? You've given up so much of your personal information, and now a lot of your personal data has been sold to other companies. I've been sold to other companies. When this thing came in 2020 and people took this thing, that was a trial. They tried out so many different things. You had to stand 6 feet apart from other people. You had to use QR codes. You had to use the QR code if you wanted to go into a shop, if you wanted to go into a restaurant, if you wanted to go to a football match. You had to be tracked and traced. If you went overseas, you had to be tracked and traced. You were giving up so much of your personal data, so much of your personal information, right, to these companies. They had you under mass surveillance. Anyway, let me go back to this. Digital ID cards and biometric data gathering companies. 340 million in contracts have already been handed out. No digital ID cards. They have not been scrapped, right? They've just merely changed brand and their marketing strategy, right? So if you want to travel on an airplane, you want to get into a pub, you want to go to a football match, you want to go to school, they're going to come in from another angle, just like they did in 2020. All right, where you had to show digital ID in order to be able to use certain facilities. If you wanted to even go to a gymnasium, you had to show digital ID of some form, QR codes. Going to a pub, you need to show that. Going to a restaurant, you need to show that. Go to a football match, you need to show that. Right. September 2025, Keir Starmer said, you will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID. It's as simple as that. So by 2029, they want to make sure that everybody in the country, not only just illegal immigrants, which they were using as an excuse, I think anyway, and I'm not the only person who thinks that, but also they wanted the whole complete UK to be digitally ID by 2029. You know what I'm telling you? By 2029. And it has not gone away, right? This digital ID thing has not gone away. 3 million people petitioned against digital ID cards, right? They petitioned government. There's about 70 million people in the UK. About 70 million. So 3 million of 3 million of 70 million people. That's not even 4%. That's just under 4%. That's just under 4% of the population, right? That means that there's still a lot of people who are agreeing with this thing. Only 4% and less pushed back against this thing. So that means that there's another 60 odd million people who have not pushed back and not petitioned. And they're just going to be accepting of it. 3 million is very small compared to the population of the UK, which is something like 70 million. There's some big ass companies, man. Check this out. I'm only going to read out a couple of them because I want to do another video on this. All right, check this out. Check this out. There's a company called Dilio, right? Let me spell it out. Delloitte. Delloitte. Diliote. I think it's Diliote, right? They're a consultant for the government. They're a gigantic company, a gigantic entity, right? But they work on behalf of the government. They work on behalf of the government for governments based on welfare, NHS, and the defense. Yeah, military defense. They're making big waves in digital ID. In March 2022, Dilio won a £9 million contract to be a delivery partner for government, right? To be a delivery partner for government. Government.co.uk, right? Log in. Check this out. Some say some people say that this is okay because government kind of needs help. Yeah, some people say that's okay by them because government needs help. But check this out. 7 months after that first contract, right, it ballooned up to £12.3 million. That's 37% increase in less than 1 year. Yeah, in less than 1 year on digital ID gathering. Then, check this. Here's a kicker now. Then, 16 million contracts in 2023. Then in July 2024, £42 million, right? £42 million to the government.uk for an app. Yeah, for a smart app for digital ID to track people. Check this out as well. Somewhere in the region of 77 to 100 million. 77 to 100 million, right? Just on that app. And there's a whole heap of companies. Experian is another company, yeah? PA Consultant is another company. And there's a whole heap of them, right? And I'm going to do another video and I'm going to go a bit more in depth. I'm going to deep dive. I'm going to take a deep dive. I'm going to take a deep dive to do a part 2 follow-up to this. I've got to do a part 2. It's not going to go away, people. We need more people to think about this thing, all right? About your future. And do you want digital ID? Do you want to be tracked everywhere you go? All right? You want the government to know every single thing about you? Check this out. Football, right? So your football team has lost. You're mad because your football team's lost and you give up your digital ID in order to go watch a football match. You remember in 2020 when people wanted to go and watch football? They cared more about giving up their freedoms to go and watch their favorite football team, right? People followed like sheep. I want to go watch my favorite football team. I want to go to a restaurant and go and have something to eat. I want to go to a pop concert. So, how dare you? I want to go and see my favorite band. I'm going to give up all of my personal information for that. And you cared more about all those things. So you see this person in this picture. He's mad because he can't see his football team or his favorite football team lost. Oh, and you got all these other people here. All these other people, sheeple. Government destroys your business, your family, and your health. The government destroys your business, your family, and your health. And you care more about going to watch your favorite football team or going to watch your favorite band, right? And then take the spat in your arm as well. Now been unalive. Well, you'd rather give up your freedom so that you could go and watch some entertainment. This picture kind of says it all. 3 million people petitioned. 3 million people petitioned against digital ID. That's not even 4% of the population. So what's happened to the other 60 odd million people? And I see so many people using their phones to pay for goods, and they'd rather give up their personal identity and information. I don't understand this. It's going to be like living in a digital prison. This is Eldad Amara with another video. And again, look at my merch. If you like this, go to the bottom of my page. It says show more. You'll be able to buy some more merch. Go to Printify, go to Shopify also. Like my t-shirt. And I've got some other t-shirts with some of our logos on there. Yeah, and slogans on there. I've got sweatshirts. I've got bags. Yeah. I've got quite a lot of things. Go to Printify, go to Shopify. Please support this channel by buying some of my merch. If you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. This is Eldad Amara with another video. Watch out. I'm going to drop a part 2 and go deep dive on this. And go deep